Gregory, today we are going to school.
Why?
Because we about to learn. We about to learn something. Well, our audience is going to learn something.
Okay, I'd more like it. I don't want to go sit in class. You teach the class, I'll assist.
All right. Well, today's lesson will be recruiting 101.
Why you gonna pick a topic about recruiting? I hate recruiting.
Why?
It's like marketing.
But you know what? We'll save all that.
Soliciting.
And it'll all
Nobody likes you soliciting. Coming to the knocking on the door soliciting. They have signs say no soliciting.
Recruiting 101 on the Veronica Harris Show. And today, welcome back to the Veronica Harris Show, and we are talking recruiting 101. Any words for you for that?
Why we want to talk about recruiting?
Well, because it's one of those things that, especially as athletes, and we've all been athletes and young people, because we do try to, our demographic is young people as well as adults, but a lot of, we talk about is sports and athletics, and a lot of young people today are trying to get that scholarship, athletic scholarship, but I mean there's academic scholarships that you can get too, but it does come down to recruiting. Like in other words, let's just say you are student A. Okay, if you're looking to get into a school, you're going to be recruited by someone, hopefully, who wants your services.
Okay, so we're teaching the student to be recruitable?
We're teaching them some of the things that they need to know in order to be a standout recruit, because there are millions of kids who play sports. All right, and the fact of the matter is that, well, let's talk about basketball. Out of the hundreds of thousands of kids that play basketball, only 3% will play Division I basketball.
Okay.
Okay, 3%. That's not a lot, especially when you're talking about we're getting to almost like 600,000 plus almost 1 million kids that play the game. Okay. All right. So how do you stand out amongst all of those kids? And that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay. So we're going to talk about recruitable athlete. Are you going to give some information to the parents?
Yes, we are going to get some information to the parents, because it is because believe it or not, you've heard about different recruiting scandals that you hear about.
There's been some in the news.
There have been some in the news, and a lot of them do have to deal with parents. You know, Reggie Bush, you know, with USC, one of the reasons why he had to get back his Heisman and all that is because it was found out they were paying for a house for their family. Thing with Cam Newton, apparently his father was getting him out to the highest bidder. You know, there was money involved. So we need to talk to the parents so they can know, like, it's really not about them, you know, and what they can get out of it. It is really for the kids.
Okay, now, are we going to address some of the recruiting practices by the coaches?
Yes, we are going to discuss some of the recruiting practice by the coaches. I am a recruiter. I recruit for a university, a Division III university, and there are certain things that that I can do that maybe a Division II coach, well, I can't do that a Division coach 2 can do, and a Division I coach can do. So there are different limitations depending on what division or what level a student is interested in attending.
Which one are we going to start with?
Well, we're going to start with the student, all right, because that's what's really important. So first thing, put it down. You can write it down.
Okay.
The thing that's going to help you be very successful is knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the better.
Okay.
Okay. The second thing, questions. Ask. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Okay. This is about to be 4 years of your life. All right. And within those 4 years, you know, well, basically, we're asking the student to make a very big decision what they're going to do for the next 4 years of their life, and which could have something to do with beyond that. So in order to do that, you need to have knowledge and you need to ask questions so you can make the best educated decision for yourself and your family.
Good point. Now, how many 18-year-olds know what they want to do, though?
Not too many, but we are kind of talking about the athletic scholarship. So most athletes at 18, they know whether you're playing a revenue generating sport or non-revenue generating sport. You know that you want to do this at the next level. You want to do it at the collegiate level.
Well, I figured that the questions you were talking about asking were about the academic side. Not you're not asking questions. So you're asking questions about the program, or you're asking questions about the school?
Everything. Because think about it, this is like a business. An athlete is a business entity unto themselves. And if you're going to go take your services or take your talents to the University of whatever, you have to make sure that your interests align. And the only way to do that is you need to ask questions. So what I tell students now, because I teach high school, start thinking about, get a list of schools. Look at what are their admission requirements, first of all. Also, look at what are their athletic requirements. Because you could be thinking, oh, I want to, play for whatever university, but you don't meet their athletic standards. That's kind of like, being unrealistic. It may give you something to work towards, depending on where you are. But like I said, if you're a senior and you have to run, their standard is running a 52 and a quarter and you never broke 60, maybe we need to rethink what you're going to do.
Okay.
All right. So once you have your list and you started to look at, okay, you know what the admission requirements are and you know what the athletic standards are and you think you can make it, even before it's time for them to start recruiting you, you can send out letters or you can get, information. You can get information. And I would say get all the information that you can, especially with social media. You can go on the school's website, go on the athletic department, look up who they have now. Maybe if you're playing like basketball, see who's maybe a year or two ahead of you that's currently playing your position. So you can see like, hey, is there potentially going to be a place for me? Because maybe not. Maybe they may have, like you're a senior and they already have a freshman that's pretty good at your position. Maybe you may not be able to get in playing time right away. So maybe it's, okay, let me look for another school. So check all those things out. Now, depending on if you're going to go Division I, Division II, or Division III, there's certain different requirements that you have to meet. Now, if you're going Division I or Division II, you need to look into the clearinghouse. Make sure you have those core courses. You can go to the ncaa.org website and look up what those core requirements are to make sure that you're meeting them.
And did you do all this?
They didn't have the clearinghouse when I was here, but I was always a good student. I was like, practically straight A, 3.65. Academics was never really a problem for me. But also, you need to know what are those standardized test scores, SAT, ACT. Take both. Take both of those. And studies have shown that for people of color, the ACT tends to work better for us. It's a better test. We score better on it than the SAT. Take both. And make sure you're working on that GPA. Okay, know what your GPA is. The worst thing is I talk to a student and I say, well, what's your GPA? I'm not sure. How do you not know what your GPA is?
Yeah, how do you not know?
How do you not know? Okay, what's your test scores? I think I go, wait a minute, whoa. How do you not know? Like, you should be able to quote those things
Don't
at the
sound
drop
like
of a dime.
someone who should be going to college. You ain't up on your GPA or your test scores.
I would agree. However, those are just some of the things that you should know. And if you're going through the clearinghouse with Division I, make sure you have that clearinghouse number, because those are some of the first things that as a coach, regardless of what sport it is going to ask you. What's your GPA? What are your test scores? Have you done clearinghouse? What's your clearinghouse number? Also, as a recruit, they have some recruiting websites or some recruiting I guess websites or I guess almost kind of like agents, I would say. They're not really agents, but they're sort of like, I don't want to say their names, but they're places where you can go sign up and develop a profile on them, and they promise to, help you get scholarships, and you have to pay. I do not suggest that, because trust me, if you are good, the way technology is set up, if a coach wants to find you, they can find you. Take track and field for me. I can look up any track meet that's taking place indoor, outdoor season in any state, in any state in the United States, and I can find out what a person did, okay, and I can also find out what their progression has been, over the seasons. So I already know without needing any recruiting website to tell me if I'm going to recruit this person, because it doesn't matter if you're in Hawaii or if you're in Maryland, I can find out what you're doing. So really, there's no secrets anymore. It's just a matter of letting my fingers do the walking, but not through the yellow pages. So I would be very judicious about that, about recruiting websites and things of that nature, because it could be a waste of, I think it could be a waste of money.
So now we're talking about the recruiter or the recruitee.
Well, we're still talking about the recruitee.
So you talked about how you can find them all, and if you're good, they'll find you.
Right, but even if you
So as the recruitee, all you have to do is make sure you got your grades, you got your scores, and wait for them to come to you.
Not really. You can also be, for instance, say like you have a dream school and you haven't heard from them. You can reach out. Okay, maybe you won't be able to reach out, you won't be able to contact the head coach because of, you know, there could be limitations in terms of there's only certain days, like there's dead periods when, certain times when a coach cannot talk to a recruiter of that nature, but you can reach out. You can reach out and maybe, you know, like I said, if a coach is in California, maybe he's not looking as far east as like the Maryland, Virginia area, but you know, you can put a like bug in his head like, hey, I'm interested in coming, blah, 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 blah. These are my, you know, my stats and this and that. And then he can just go from there, or he or she can go from there as far as looking you up. Now, as the recruitee, answer every piece of correspondence you receive. If you get a phone, if you get a text message, if you get a phone message, if you get an email, make sure you respond. Because guess what? When you don't respond, it's like, you know, you trying to date this girl or whatever, and you reach out to her and she don't, you know, respond back. After a while, you think, oh, she's not interested. Then you move on to the next one. Recruiting is like dating.
And they're a dime a dozen.
A dime a dozen.
Athletes are a dime a dozen.
I mean, we do have those generationals, but guess what? The next one is coming.
And I got $1. They say a dime a dozen, and I got $1. All right. Okay, so I'm following you right now. Takeaways from what I just heard. Knowledge. You told me write that down. I wrote that down. Knowledge. Be smart. And number 2 was ask questions.
Right. Well, we didn't talk about asking questions. So what do I mean by asking questions? Now, as a recruit, you'll get so many official visits. When you go to these schools, make sure you're asking questions. Okay? As far as, like, do they have your program that you want to major in? You know, don't be afraid to talk
Go
money.
ahead and ask me a question. Let's role play one.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask me. You're the recruitee. I'm the college. Ask me a question.
Okay. Do you have education majors?
Yes, we have the best education major in the country. We are top in our state. Every college I heard, they always said they had the best whatever in the nation. Every question you asked, they had the best program in the nation.
Well,
and it ain't no really, you can't really fact check them.
Well, yes, you can.
They always say their program was top this, top in that.
Well,
everybody's program couldn't have been on the top.
But you can fact check because a lot of publications do rank. Like, for instance, one of the schools the school that I do recruit for, they're ranked number 3 in terms of MBAs that have graduated and gone on to work in other industries. And that was quoted in a well-known U.S. publication. So, I mean, there are ways to check. But you're right. Everybody is the best.
Everybody does say they're the best.
But you know what? Because we're the best, you know, and we're coming up against the break, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we're going to come back and finish up with...
Who ranked us the best? You can't just go ranking yourself all the time, Veronica.
We won awards.
All right, back to the... Okay, after the break. We'll cover that after the break.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, you know, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's gonna happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
Okay, so now where are we again, Gregory?
Ask the questions. We asked the questions, but we talked about a lot of times that everybody's going to promote their school and oversell it, overhype it. So I mean, that's why I really didn't go into like asking questions about what this, because I knew everybody's going to say their program's the best. I went into college knowing that what I put in, I was going to get out. I feel every school was, you know, was pretty much, I looked at every school about the same.
Okay.
And I made my decision based on what was the best athletic fit for me. I thought academically everything was going to be pretty much, you know, the same.
Well, you know, I think that's a good point because, you know, colleges, universities in the United States, I would say generally for the most part are pretty good. Now, there are obviously some that specialize in certain things that you may want to go there for that particular thing, that particular major or area of study. However, for the most part, you know, if you can, like I said, put it this way, unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a nurse, something that requires a specific licensing, then you can really go anywhere and get a degree and be happy and be fine. So I think that's important. Like, for instance, certain schools have reputations for churning out good teachers. They're a good teacher college, teacher preparation and things of that nature. So I do see your point on that. But getting back to what we were saying before is that as a recruitee, you need to make sure you respond to every correspondence. Even if it's, thank you for contacting me, I appreciate it, but I'm deciding something else. At least, you know, you're showing that recruiter the courtesy because they're taking time out of their schedule to talk to you. And that, because like, you know, how our sister Valerie says all the time, you never know. You never know who you may come back into contact with, and you may need that contact. So therefore, always make sure that you respond and, you know, to every correspondence. Now, so that brings us to our next point, which is what? Because you was keeping notes, you was keeping track. Do you want to talk about the parent?
We want to talk about the parent first.
Okay.
Let's talk about the parent.
Now, the parent. I think parents should definitely be involved heavily into the, you know, in the process, because for the most part, unless you're getting a full scholarship, at some point the parent might have to contribute some money, had to kick in some money.
Okay.
So I think they do need to be aware of costs to go to that school, financial costs, because that's very important. You know, the thing about it is, can you afford to go to that school? Yeah, you may love to go to this big Ivy League college, blah, blah, blah. However, if they're not offering you a financial aid package that covers the cost of attendance, then you're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to kick out something. So yeah, parents should definitely be involved, but parents should also understand that this is not the time for you to, you haven't won the lottery. Sort of thing. You know, there are some parents that are like, okay, you want my kid, what you gonna give me? It's almost like you selling your kid to the highest bidder type of deal. And we've seen this usually happens with revenue generating sports more so than non-revenue generating sports. But you know, really, you selling your kid. It's like almost you pimping out your kid. And to me, that's wrong, because it's not about you. You had your time. Whatever it is you felt you didn't get in the past, now is not the time for you to make it up. Now, if your kid wants to help you later on in life, that's on him or her, but this is not for you. This is for them. A little harsh, was it?
Yeah, I mean, you spent 18 years grooming and, you know, why can't I wet my beat?
But you do that because that's what a parent does. You don't groom and train up or invest in your kid because you want them to, you know, take care of you. That's just not what it's about. At least I don't think so. I mean, every parent has a different thing, but it really is. It's not about you. And some coaches become very, you know, can become standoffish. But you know, there's a lot of regulations with the NCAA, and you know, some parents, when they start asking for those things, they not only put themselves, but they put their child in a very bad position, because if stuff comes out, and it seems to always do, then it can take away whatever that kid has worked hard for. Because yes, you invested, but yeah, who was actually doing the work? Who was actually sweating and bleeding and maybe got hurt and injured and broken bones or whatever? Who did all that?
All right, so the parent needs to be involved. What is their role?
Their role is to be, I would say, a sounding board. So say, like, for instance, you just came back from a trip. Now, I remember when I would come back from my recruiting trips, I'd be like, hey, Ma, guess what? I'm going to such and such school. She'd be like, what? She'd be like, you told me last week you was going to such and such school. You got about that? I was like, oh, yeah, but I like this school better. So it was just a matter of her being a sounding board, because for Mom, she hadn't been through this. I was the first. She hadn't been there. Yeah. But it was just for her being a sounding board. So when I came home and I was like, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, she kind of helped me see, well, Veronica, remember you wanted this. Stay focused. And so I think that's what the parents should do. And obviously be honest with the kid. You know, if money does have to come, if there is some money that has to be paid, they can say, well, look, we can only afford to do this. you know, and any other monies may be needed has to come from other resources, things and another. So the kid he or she can have, you know, again, the most complete and honest knowledge of what is going on so that they can make the proper decision for themselves. But I think the parents should be supportive of that sounding board to help them, because again, this decision affects their life, the child's life, not their life.
All right, now let's look at the recruiter and what role he plays in the whole process. Okay,
the way for a collegiate program, athletic program to succeed, and not just the college itself, is you need to get the right type of people into your school, into your program, so that you can build it and be successful. Now, as a recruiter,
okay,
there are certain things that I look for. My first question as soon as I talk to an athlete is, what is your GPA? And what is your test scores? Why? Because my school has very specific academic standards. And if you do not meet them, I immediately say, well, you know what? Good luck with your endeavors, and thank you very much. And I move on. I will not even waste my time. There's nothing I can do for you. There's just nothing I can do for you, because unlike some others, like Division I, Division II, we're not able to get any athletic exemptions or, you know, slide people in under the whatever, you know, under the door or whatever. Okay. So that's really important. The next thing I want to know is, well, what are your future plans? Because again, the school that I recruit for is very specific. We are a research school. So some of the, like, for instance, more common degree programs that athletes would like to go into, like a lot of athletes like to go into teaching, they like to go into coaching. We don't have that. So if that's what you want to do, okay, well, you need to go to that school over there. And then I also want to know, I want to see how you are at school. I want to know from your teachers. I like to talk to your PE teacher, because if you lazy in PE, you probably going to be lazy on the track for me. So I want to see about that. I want to know about that. And then I want to know how you are. And then eventually I look into their social media. I want to see what you're doing on social media, because whatever you're doing in social media in high school, you're going to bring that with you to college. And if it does not align with the mission or what we do as a program, I may need to not recruit you.
Okay. As a coach, how many athletes are you looking at? Are you recruiting to get a certain amount of number to come to your school?
Good question. Well, recruiting is about the numbers game. And believe it or not, in track and field, there is such a thing as you have to be in compliance. That means you have to have a certain number of eligible athletes participating for a certain number of meets to meet compliance for the year. So usually we want a team of like at least 30. So that means if I want 30, I got to talk to at least, you know, 90 kids, because out of that 90, I'm hoping, you know, 45 will be of interest to me or interest in the school. And then out of 45, I'm hoping, now this is just myself because there's other coaches on the staff that are also recruiting. I'm hoping out of that 45, maybe 30 to 20, you know, will go ahead and fill out the application. And out of that 30 to 20, I'm hoping that at least 15 will be accepted. Because again, our school is very rigorous academically. And then out of that 15, you know, I hope those 15 that get accepted actually go through with paying their acceptance fee and say, okay, yes, I'm coming. And then out of those 15 that come in, or maybe less, I hope they stay. Because guess what? Division III, we don't have that scholarship leverage to hang over you. As to you need to straighten up, you need to do whatever so that you can, you know, stay in the school. Like if a kid wants to quit, what can I say?
Well, we're not going to quit, but we are going to go for the break.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
I've taken 25 selfies in the last 10 minutes.
26.
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
Find out how to use an awkward silence to help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
$90, you hope 45, and you hope again to get, what, 30, and then you hope for 15 to actually pay the money to come, and then you hope they stay.
I hope they show up, actually.
Hope they show up, and then you got the one there. And
we hope one of them are fast.
A lot of work. That recruiting is a lot of work.
Yeah, and think about it with coaches. Recruiting is, believe it or not, before you can move on, before you can move on from an assistant to a head coaching job, they want to know that you can recruit. Because if you can't recruit, that means you can't bring people into the program. And recruiting is about everything, even at the professional level. In the NBA, hey, recruit so-and-so to come to the team. You know, get somebody to come to the team. You know, even jobs, you know, corporate, public sector, you know, you need to recruit good people to come into the program because, again, human labor, human capital is the most important thing when it comes to jobs, you know, and productivity and things. And the better people you have, the better product you can put out. And in this case, the product is the athletic program.
Okay.
And you know what? It's very important not only to just the athletic program, but to actually to the school as a whole, because they say whenever, I read it somewhere where it said a school, after they, you know, if they do well in the NCAA tournament, you know, get to the, you know, whatever, Elite 8, Sweet 16 or whatever, a school can potentially see a 30% jump in applications.
Okay.
And again, this is not from, you know, the jump in applications from athletes. This is a jump from the regular student body, people that actually are paying money, tuition to go there. You know, so.
You know, I guess recruiting leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Why?
Because, and not with the non-revenue sports, you know, but the revenue sports.
And for those of you that know, revenue sports is basketball and football.
Yeah. The revenue sports, you kind of gotta sell sell a little bit of your soul.
You're right.
Trying to bring these kids in.
You're right.
I heard terms where a recruiter said, you know, you got to give I'm not even gonna say what he said on TV. But yeah, and then they bring you on this campus. First thing they want to do is they're gonna send you to a party. They want to show you that's a party school. And then, of course, at the party, at the collegiate level, what you have there?
Girls,
drugs and alcohol.
And for most of these 18-year-olds, you're underage.
Yeah. So
that's illegal.
And you're sending me to a party with, you know, with women, drugs, and alcohol. And then you've seen the violations, but they actually some schools go as far as providing escorts.
Yeah.
And prostitutes there.
Yeah, there was I've read numerous stories in major publications about major programs where they actually had, it's almost like I don't want to call it a club, but a group of escorts, and that was their thing. I'm not saying I'm not saying they told them to sleep with the guy, with the recruit, but show them a good time, whatever a good time is.
Recruiting 102.
Recruiting 102. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Even at my level in non-revenue sports, sometimes I feel like, you know, I feel a little icky, you know, because I'm like, and I'm the type of person, I cannot sell what I don't believe in. And if I don't believe in it, if I don't believe in the program, I don't believe in the head coaches, the other coaches, I can't do it. I just can't. And it was like, well, you need to get out there and get more recruits. I'm like, but they not.
And then you recruit somebody for 4 years, and you probably not even going to stay there 4 years.
That's true, but then you recruit the person. It's like you get into a relationship, and all of a sudden they break up with you.
All right.
And then I'm like, I put all this time in. I took you out to dinner. Now you break up with me.
You ordered the lobster.
Yes, and then they break up with me.
Oh man.
Nah, but it's hard, and sometimes, but you know, you got to do. It is I can say necessary evil, but it's something that you know, has to be done. And I think that what we told here today was something that would help parents and young people make good decisions for themselves, because ultimately it's them, it's their life. But make the best decision. Get the knowledge. Ask the questions. Don't be afraid, because this is your life and you only get one.